Hi, I'm Michael Allison. I'm the Commercial Director for Roma Finance, and welcome to another edition of RomaTalks, where we speak to people from across the specialist lending and property industry. And today I'm delighted to be joined by a good friend of mine, Marcus Nanson from NRG. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
No, thank you very much for coming. It feels a bit roles reversed. I've been on.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, it's a bit weird with the studio as well. I'm used to having it just being in my head.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Marcus has got a really successful podcast himself. I'm sure we'll get into that in a bit. Obviously, we'll talk about one of the better episodes, which was
With
myself.
you, yeah. My favourite one.
But my favourite one as well, and my mum's. Funny enough, she enjoyed that one. So obviously you're from Recruitment. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm from NRG Resourcing and we deal in the broker and specialist lender market. I have been in the industry for 15 years. The lending market was relatively new for us the last 3, but yeah, there's a team of 8 of us. And yeah, we work across all of the whole spectrum across lending and mortgage broking.
So how come specialist lending then? Because obviously it's
my bread and butter was mortgage brokers. I did that myself. I was quite lazy, if I'm honest. For 10 years, I had a nice one-man band type business where I just dealt with local mortgage brokers, and then I moved into the city post-COVID when I kind of realised I had to kind of build a legacy. I didn't want to be on the phone when I was 80. And that was a really good step into the specialist lending market because it sounds like I pitch this to people all the time, but I don't think that BDMs know the best BDMs. I think brokers know the best BDMs, and I think the same with underwriting and across the board. So my referral network that I picked up from broking, albeit that it took me a very long time to build it up, I think that stood me in a much better stead for the specialist lending market, for the lending side, because my referral system is amazing from broking across both sides. I don't think there's anyone else that really does both sides of the spectrum.
So really what you're doing is you're using the experience of the end user to dictate who's good on the other side.
Yeah, 100%. I genuinely believe you can ask a lender who the best BDMs are, but it's the guys that use them at the other end that really know.
Yeah.
And I think for that kind of referral network is, it's amazing.
So specialist lending then, it's obviously it's evolved a lot and it's becoming even more mainstream, I guess.
Yeah.
There's more usage of it. How have you found it develop over that?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. I think on the broking side specifically, it's a lot of people moving into it. I think people, if I'm honest, have seen the money side of it. You know, if you've been doing Doris's Santander mortgage for the last 10 years and you see what you're getting out bridging and stuff, I do think that's also caused a bit of a problem with perhaps you guys where maybe the education piece is a little bit harder because you've got a lot more people moving into the sector. So I'm finding out, I suppose you see it too, just in regards to people moving in and having to learn it as well.
Yeah, I think what we did, we structured our sales thing because we saw more of these probably one-man, two-man band brokers who, rather than pass it off to a packager, have been holding on to that case themselves. So we've got a telephony team to help with that transition because at the end of the day, it's the customer that sits behind that.
Yeah.
And if you can build a strong relationship with that broker on the first case, and sometimes there's a bit of teaching and knowledge sharing.
I think that's the magic as well. I think they've got to want to learn. Yeah. You know, I think you can't just move into a new market and just be happy with it. You know, just be happy. Like, it's so different from resi and it's so complex, and they're also a lot more regular than your resi guys. So just in regards to the relationship management piece, I think there's a lot to learn from going from the resi to the lending market, off the specialist lending market.
They're more regular than you think, aren't they? You know, when you look at the statistics now, it's a multi-billion-pound industry in bridging.
100%. Yes. If you're working with an investor, they're not just doing they're not doing a 2-year fix, are they? They're constantly looking for the next deal. So yeah, I think the relationship management piece is the bit that makes the resi guys successful when they move over to commercial, and obviously learning the products, being the technical knowledge, which not everyone's prepared to learn, right? I think you see the tougher end of that where you've got to teach it.
Well, you do, or sometimes you have to find out who's the best person to have the conversation with the customer, because the customer, the borrower, or the applicant, they're the person who needs the most information at that moment in time. It's great to train the broker and work with the broker. It's great for us as the lender to have our lens on it, but it's that end user. They need to understand exactly what's expected of them and what they're getting.
It's doing the right thing by the customer, isn't it? So whether that, although I know that brokers are quite precious with their customers, you want to keep it, and I get that, you want that control element. Sometimes it helps just to put them in front of the lender and, kind of explain it a bit more thoroughly if they haven't got the knowledge. I mean, there are some great commercial brokers out there as well, don't get me wrong. But if you're learning the piece, I think it's important to, rely on the lender as well. Yeah,
and the lender, we've got to be recognised that we wouldn't have interface with our customer
100%,
with the broker. So we're all in it together. So with regards to recruitment then, one of the things I'm really interested in is, you mentioned post-COVID, going into the city. Has recruitment itself changed in the financial services in the last 5 years?
It has, in regards to what people expect, but I don't know if that's a generational thing or a post-COVID thing. I think there's definitely some changes in the market. I want to say it without being disparaging to the next generation, but there is kind of a culture of short-term success now, or short-term gratification, which I think has made it slightly more difficult to try and get people to understand they have to build a career. And I think that comes from, I think we stuck to things a little bit more. I'm going to sound like an old man now, but when you were younger, you just kind of stuck to something and you learnt your trade. Yeah. I think there's a much keener want for moving up the ladder a bit quicker now, which, we spend our time educating people on that as well. You're not going to be MD in 6 months. That's just the nature of the beast. But that's probably the big difference.
What if they see it on a LinkedIn, on a YouTube?
Exactly. That's what they do. Unfortunately, I've got kids. I see it all the time. They look at quick money because they see YouTubers do it and they don't understand that there's 2 billion that aren't successful at it. They see it's like watching football and deciding that, oh, Ronaldo earns good money, I could do it. When you don't understand there's millions and millions that are either making scratching a living or don't make it at all.
Yeah.
And I think they do see that every day. I think and that's not the generation's fault. I think it is literally plumbed into them every day that short-term success is fairly easy, but making money's hard, isn't it? It's just they kind of get it across.
It's all about trusting the process, isn't it? You've got to pick that right employer.
Yeah.
Really. And back yourself, but nothing comes without hard work.
Yeah. I think, do you know what? The really good ones see it now as well, though. I think the difference is, like when I was younger, I worked really hard and we grafted and, you were at your desk for a long time and that kind of thing, but I didn't really put my head above the parapet because everyone kind of did it. I think the benefit now is if you're in that next generation, that if you do work hard and you understand that it's about, following a good leader and doing all the right things, then you do stick out, you stick out really positively. So there are some positives from it, and when you see that now with some of the superstars that are coming through, they're just, they're a lot above their peers when it comes to getting that next step up the ladder.
So it's taking the new approach, but still having the old school hard work.
And I think you just stick out more now, because there's less people that are willing to do it.
Yeah.
Which also means we've got this skills gap in the market as well, where everyone wants the new guy, young, hungry, driven with 10 years experience. So we've all got that. And I think it's an issue on the lending and broking side as well as owners, that we maybe don't put enough into developing new people, because the easy route is we want someone with 5 years experience. We know they can do the job. But because everyone has done that for so long, I think there's now a skills gap where people haven't really joined the industry, and obviously COVID and stuff didn't help. And financial services isn't the sexiest industry in the world when you look at YouTube and wanting to make quick money.
Well, it depends if you spent last week in the south of France or not.
I was very lucky to spend last week in the south of France, but it rained the whole time. I want to add that. I'm still dressed for it, but it's only because it's sunny in Manchester.
Well, you're getting your money's worth out the ironing.
Exactly, yeah. I didn't get to wear it when I was there because I was wearing a Mac.
No, good. So you obviously you run your own business very successfully as well. How was
objective that? But
yeah. Well, you've got a successful brand. You've got a really well thought of team plus yourself. How does that transition? That when you're placing talent elsewhere, you're obviously having to grow your own talent. So do you have to switch hats from being business owner to cheerleader to get other
I honestly think that's my biggest thing that I need to work on, because I actually struggle with my own recruitment. I've got an amazing team, but it's taken a while to get there. And it's easy when you look at it. It's because I spend 12 hours a day building someone else's business. And then when you do that, you probably spend an hour, like most business owners. That's why you need recruiters, right? So I have a recruiter myself who looks for me for my business, because I'm a financial services specialist. I'm not a recruitment specialist. So I think it's really important that you have to kind of step back from the day-to-day sometimes. And I'm guilty of that, because, I'm a founder, owner, but I'm a lead generator. I'm a business development manager at the end of the day. So I think it's easy to fall into that trap of constantly working and actually not looking at your own business. But everyone falls into that trap, right? You do it. Everyone does it. Our clients do it. We see it every day.
Yeah. The easiest thing sometimes is to roll your own sleeves up.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the worst things you can do.
100%. We were talking about this morning, actually, saying if we were looking to sell or get investment and stuff, I'm actually the bottleneck in the business, because if I exit, there's not really a business. So you've got to look at that when you're building it. Maybe it's just my ego. I've just built it around me, but I think it's detrimental to the business at the end of the day.
No, it is. It's something, especially as you grow and you continue, and it's probably something that you're always advising CEOs, MDs, directors of other business. Don't do this.
Yeah, it's a couple of shoes, isn't it? Everything I give advice on every day, I don't follow myself. Like, spending enough time on the business and trying to not make yourself the bottleneck in the business. Having said that, I love what I do, so I'm really lucky to pull away from the BD side, I don't think I'm a particularly good business owner as I am a relationship manager.
Yeah.
You know, so I think pulling myself out of that also would be detrimental to the business. So you're between a rock and a hard place, but
but you're passionate about what you do.
Yeah,
that
I love
across. And one of the big things that's been really successful in building the brand of NRG and of Marcus as well is your podcast that you've been doing, or your video cast, or whatever we call it.
Yeah.
So that's been, how many episodes have you done of that?
I think there's over 100 episodes now.
Wow. And in that, just give us a brief.
Yeah. So I just I interview business leaders across specialist lending and brokers, and all the kind of ancillary products like marketing people outside. 'Cause I think it's a bit of a look behind the curtain. I think people quite like it, and I think like generally, like you when you came on, and most business leaders are really open.
Yeah,
it's quite refreshing as well, because last thing you want is to go to this meeting and tell everyone how everyone's smashing it, because it's not true, and it's just. I think it brings out a bit of honesty in people, and especially because people are being so honest on it, people are happy to come on and say, yeah, it is hard, or yeah, we do struggle with this, or but it's a bit more than just your normal. This is our product. There's no product dropping on it. It's more about leadership, what it takes to be a good leader, and that kind of thing. Things that actually people care about, because you can find your products online.
And have you learnt a lot from doing that yourself personally?
It's amazing for me. Even if I didn't mark it out, I'd still do it, because for me, I get an hour a week with someone more successful than me, which is incredible, right? I couldn't pay for that.
I think
I don't pay them for it either.
No, you you definitely didn't. But we are going to put the link to your show, I think, underneath this.
Amazing.
I'm doing this as if it's there. Imagine where there. So it's here. So I would employ anyone to go and have a look. Certainly have a watch of mine and Marcus's.
Yeah, it's the best one.
Before you watch Scott and Marcus's, and then you can decide which one.
Scott's got a good story.
He has. Unfortunately, I didn't have such a great story. I just thought about which is just work hard.
No, it's really, yours is generally good, and I do tell people that about the leadership side of things, because I think there's very few people managers that have got what you've got in the industry, just in regards to how you look after, like understand understand people emotionally. I think that's a key point. I think there's maybe a handful of people that do that. So it was really good to get your kind of insights on it. I copy some of it.
Well, thank you very much. Good. You left me speechless for a moment.
Wow.
So tell us a bit more about what's next for your business then.
It's a great question. Again, we're looking to grow all the time. We're very lucky in the fact that I've got a great network now. We don't really have to go out and do. When I say I'm still a business development manager, but I'm not. I don't do hundreds of cold calls or anything. We're quite blessed that we get that in, and that is, again, I was talking about this morning before I left at 4:00 this morning to get here. I was talking to my wife, and I said, well, I did spend too long as a one-man band. However, that put me in really good stead to when I moved into the next stage of my career, which is on the broking side in the city. I had enough knowledge that I could go in there with some authority, and then that led me on to the lending, which was exactly the same thing. I can go in with some sort of authority that I know what I'm talking about, which has always made my BD easier. If I could go back, I probably would have done it quicker, but it's always put me in good stead for the next stage.
Yeah, but you understand it. You understand the world that we live in. You understand the nuances. Sometimes the London finance scene can be different than the Manchester finance.
Not really, though. It's just similar. There's not a massive difference. I always say I'm in the
less
peak
pubs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a bit less rain. That's just lovely today. But I always say that for me, I'm in like the prime of business development, because I'm a middle-aged man trying to build a business, and I speak to middle-aged people trying to build businesses, right? So I feel their pain every day. I understand completely the pain points. That does mean I'm going to be irrelevant pretty soon, so I do have to start looking at succession planning. But at the moment, it's just, it's a relatively easy sell. I feel it. I'm passionate about the business. I'm passionate about the industry, but also I understand the struggles of what it takes to make money. It's tough.
Yeah. What's interesting is, obviously, we mentioned like your middle-aged man speaking to middle-aged man.
Should have said middle-aged people, shouldn't I?
Well, actually, when you think about your own team, how many males are in your business besides you?
I've got no males. Do you know what? That genuinely wasn't through not employing men. It's just that I think in recruitment, you've got to be empathetic, but you've really got to care. And it is a female trait, I think, to do both, because they're all really motivated by money. They all want to succeed. And I tend to find, I've taken on some lads before, and they would neglect the client to make a few quid, whereas actually, I think the team that I've got at the moment, which happen to all be female, understand the long-term goal of, like, the money's a byproduct, right? Is it just we can make money as long as we do the right thing by the customer and stay interested and make sure that we, look after everyone. Well, I think so. I do think having empathy for people that are, it's a tough time for a lot of people when they're speaking to us. No one calls me to say they're happy in their job. You know what I mean? It's not it's not the easiest conversation to have
Yeah.
with people. So I think that empathy and the drive to succeed, those two traits aren't necessarily in a lot of males. So, but you know, not that I'm not looking. I mean, we're always looking. It'd be great to have a bit of diversity in the team. But
have you seen more of a push for females getting into specialist lending over?
Yeah, 100%. And we have this conversation with people as well. You're not allowed to talk about gender as to what people want, but it does make a difference. You look at some of the boards now where, you know, they're female heavy and they are really successful, and they do. It's not just gets rid of that hive thinking, you know, like that. Everyone agrees with everyone because it's you know, they're all of the same ilk, they come from the same background. So it's not just gender. I mean, it's background as well.
Yeah.
But I think it just stops the hive thinking, and it's more for creativity. I think makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're all just, I agree with you, we're all doing the same thing. It's just you know, we don't grow as a business or as an industry.
Healthy conflict is the art of a successful.
Yeah, we've got loads of that in the office. Yeah, every day.
Yeah. So obviously you're up at 4 this morning. But you're normally up around 4 a.m. anyway.
Yeah.
You're an early morning gym.
I am. Yeah. I'm kind of not addicted to habits. That's wrong, but I just have to have them in my life. You know, I think if my morning routine messes up, the rest of my routine messes up. So, I've always been a bit obsessive about. I've got to be obsessed about something, and I gave up drinking and stuff a few years ago. So I think it's just something I have to obsess over.
So what tell us a bit about yourself away from work then? Obviously you've got the 5 a.m. gym. Or
Yeah, and also, I mean, the reason for the 4 a.m. gym.
4 a.m. Sorry.
But the reason for that is also I've got 4 kids, so I think it's quite selfish. I think like the fitness and stuff is quite a selfish hobby in the sense you can spend hours doing it. I don't think it's right that I do that when the kids are getting ready for school or after school. You know, my wife always works as well. She's the director of the business, so that's a big part of it. You know, it's about just adding more hours to your day.
So you're creating your own time slot.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I've added more hours to my day. I mean, I still fall asleep really early at night as soon as I stop working. But
I think that's the age, mate.
Yeah, I think it is. Also, the kids aren't really, you know, my kids are teenagers, so, you know, they're not overly interested in long conversations with me past 9 o'clock. They're sort of sat on their phones, so it's a good time to fall asleep.
So obviously your kids are teenagers there. They'll now be, within a few years, looking to move into the world of work. What tips do you give them as an ace recruiter?
I was talking to my daughter about this the other day. So she's 17. I think she's ideal for our industry just because when she was 16, she got a job at Poulton's Park. So if I'm honest, she's stopping people stealing key rings with a smile on her face. Right. Now she works at Nando. She works till 11 o'clock at night, but she still goes to college. And again, I think it's just that resilience of sticking with the job for one, but two, just having to do things with a smile on your face. You know, I think the customer service that they teach you at a lot of the corporates and the, you know, in the retail world and the food world, I think it actually puts you in good standing for our job because it doesn't always go your way. You know, again, people don't come up to her and tell her how great the meal was. They come up if they want to moan. So it's about, you know, having that kind of, resilience but still understand it's about the customer. So that's what we're looking at the moment for people. And she's actually made me re-look at how we take on trainees because they're the people we want. Yeah. If you stuck to something, I think it's really impressive because it's too easy now to go, I don't want it, and then move on.
Effort over everything. Yeah,
absolutely. And just you get better at it. It gets easier. But it's really hard. Like I have to explain to people now who come for a job with us, if you want to do my job, if you work really, really hard for like 4 or 5 years, and you do get paid during that time, and your wage does go up. Yeah. If you work really, really hard, it does get easier. But all they hear is the 4 or 5 years, and it's, you know, sometimes it takes off their interest.
Yeah, I think before I came to Roma, I was a previous lender for 14 years, and when I came to Roma, I've been here nearly 4 years.
Yeah, it's nuts,
it doesn't go quite quickly.
Yeah, and it does at this end. You know, it doesn't feel like it for when the 20-year-olds.
Well, I remember being on the telephones years and years ago. You know, the only thing that changes was the weather. You'd ring the same customers over and over again, the same opportunity. But it's all about keeping. Sometimes it is just about trusting the process.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, get the process right, and it's all the boring stuff though. It's boring stuff that you can't really sell, is it? Like, you know, being consistent, just being constant, make sure you follow the process. Always speaking to people, you know, and in business development, you do have to be on it all the time. You know, it sounds, I'm not digging holes, you know, I appreciate that. I've got quite a nice job, but you've got to bring the same energy to everyone because that might be the only 10 minutes that someone speaks to you that day. Yeah. So you can't just decide to be down for an hour. You know what I mean? You have to be on the ball.
Yeah. It's interesting that nobody speaks to you unless something's not going well.
Yeah.
Even the business leader, I suppose sometimes we'll speak to you if we're growing.
Yeah, it's a positive, yeah.
But still there's a nervousness.
Still a problem for you, isn't it? Yeah, it's still something, and it's a nice problem to have. But yeah, no one phones with a non-problem.
Maybe I might ring you with a non-profit.
Yeah, just want to sound really happy. Oh, good to hear, Mike. Cheers.
So what about, obviously, watching this is quite a few different business owners in different fields. What about the key tips for hiring talent into your business? What are the takeaways that they can get from it?
I think there's a lot of it's about the why, why do you actually want this in the business? 'Cause I speak to so many people that we want to grow. Okay, cool, why? Oh, just because that's what you're supposed to do. All right, but there are other ways of growing before you start recruiting. Like, I think, especially in the broker world, it's very different than the lending side, because I think it's a bit more process driven, the way you kind of recruit. But certainly on the broking side, I think there's an issue with maybe just wanting to get off the phone. So you think you employ more people, but actually, or you're really good and you just employ more people because you're really good. But it's a really hard task if you don't want to run a business, because running a business is really hard, because you don't get to do the thing you're really good at all the time. Like, there's 9 things I have to do a day that I'm not particularly good at, and the thing I'm really good at, which is this, is you could do that for someone. So I think it's a big thing to actually think about why you want to grow, or in what capacity, as opposed to, we speak to so many that say, what we want is people to bring their own leads, and then we take a cut of it. I'm like, yeah, I would love that. I would love someone to come and join me and then bring their own stuff, and then I'll just take a cut of it. But that's not really how you build a business. You have to be offering something as well. That's another really good point, actually. You've got to see what you bring to the table, because everyone wants a lot at the moment, so it can't just be, we're a good company to work for. It doesn't mean anything. You've got to show it.
I think what I always say in an interview is that the interview process is as much the candidate interviewing you.
Yeah, definitely.
Than you just
more so than ever now as well.
Yeah.
I think it's really, you're absolutely right that, the candidates want more, and they want you to show it. And even like a harsh interviewer now, I just don't think, they just don't get the talent they want, and they can't understand why. And they're like, well, on the 5th stage, I thought they did really well. They're not interested. Yeah. They want to know what you can do for them.
Yeah, I suppose 25 years ago, I wasn't really bothered about flexible benefits.
No.
Things like it was the salary and the holidays. I think they were the 2 drivers.
Yeah.
I think they still are, for me, to be honest. One pays for the other. It's the way it works out normally.
I think the working from home thing's really tough, because I think it's really hard for a 25-year-old to see if their mates work 2 days from home. For me, the questions I would have asked then are like, where do I get to sit? Do I get to sit next to the top biller? Or, how close am I to the leader? How much am I going to get? How much of their time am I going to get? As opposed to, can I work from home? Because you're not going to grow from home. I would love to see the stats on who gets promoted working from home. Because I had a chat with Louisa Sedgwick the other day at Paragon. And the same thing, where she was just saying, the one thing that made her step up the ladder was being visible. You don't have to be arrogantly visible. You just have to make sure that people see that you're doing over and above. I don't think you can from home.
I think there's that blend, isn't it? But probably when you're at home, you work more. And we find that we operate off a hybrid model, which works for us. But when you're in the office, you learn more.
Yeah.
And I think it's making sure.
I think what's more important as a business, I think it's that people getting better at learning.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons people leave businesses, because they're not getting any further, yet they want to work from home.
Yeah, but if you can find that balance with the hybrid piece.
It is funny, actually. We do send more CVs from home because we talk in the office. Yeah. But collaboration-wise, especially, I've been in it a long time, so and I'm lucky that most of the people in our business have been, kind of 8 years plus. But we've got new people in, like Callie, who works on the specialist lending side. She's amazing. She's doing it 6 months, and we got her from accountancy and finance. But she's learnt so much. One, because she wants to learn. She's 25. She's an old soul, but she's 25. But she sits opposite me, and she asks me questions all day long about development finance, bridging finance. What's the difference between this and all the different questions she asks. But she's so much more advanced than if I was working from home. Because during COVID, we tried to build a business, and I honestly think that we ended up losing everyone that we employed during that time. But I honestly think if they were in an office, it would have been a very different environment, because they would have learnt quicker. But it's just, I think it's too tough to one, to move up the ladder, but two, just to learn as much as you need to be successful.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that brings us to a nice conclusion. Good. Marcus, thanks very much. I really enjoyed that, and hope you enjoyed it too. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.